Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Just One More Level podcast. I'm your co-host, John,
And I'm
and this week we have played the rest of the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, specifically parts 2 and 3.
yeah, I
Um,
went ahead and went back. I don't know about you. I went ahead and went back and played a little bit more of the first game as well, just to kind of get the full trilogy
did you?
fresh in my mind there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played quite a bit of the first game when we did it the first time, and I played the game a bunch in general, so I didn't
Right.
do that.
Feel
I
like you
just went
needed
straight
to.
ahead. Yeah. But I started with part 2, and I got into it, and let me just say off the bat, this is how I feel about the game in a nutshell. Part 2, not part
Yeah.
3,
Right.
but part 2 is bullshit. Okay? There were plenty of times in part 1 where I felt challenged and even a little frustrated, but I was still into the game enough to keep going with it a bit. But
Right.
part 2 just kicked my ass.
Yeah.
It just wiped the floor with me. And what?
I
And
yeah, I know what you mean. And you know what? Honestly though, that's the whole series for me. Like
really?
you said, I think I can't remember if it was two or three, but there was one specific level in one of them that just really I was like, this is just not good. This is just
Right,
bad. And
right.
I had for quite a long time, but I can't remember. I think it might have actually been Crash 3 that I had
Okay.
the issue with, to be specific, but I think that's just a design flaw in general. Now, that being said, that we're playing the remakes. It may not have been the same way in the originals. Because another thing
Yeah.
I noticed was that number two felt exactly the same as the first one, like
Yes.
playing wise.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then again, spoiler, but number three felt exactly the same as playing number two. The only difference was in number two, you get a new attack or whatever you want to call it, where you like belly
Yeah.
flop on the ground. Like that was it.
Mm-hmm. Well, in number 3, you end up getting more abilities, and I'm not sure how far it extends, but I played about the first 12 levels of number 3. I was really getting into it. I beat the first 2 bosses in number 3 versus
Oh,
just
nice.
beating the first boss in number 2.
I only did about
And
a half hour, 45 minutes per game, was
okay,
kind of what I was doing. So I did roughly 5 or 6 levels each.
okay, yeah, and in number 2, you gain that belly slam ability. So I mean, who knows? Maybe you end up getting more in the second game, but I
Yeah,
know that
possibly. Possibly.
in the third game, after beating the second boss, you get a double jump.
That would be amazing. And that's one of the
It
things that's really bugged me about the game,
yeah,
just in general, is they have some seemingly Metroidvania type stuff, but I didn't know if that was actually a thing in the series. Like
right.
areas where like it just seems impossible for it to get there, and I don't understand why.
Hmm.
So I'm like, do you get more abilities? Do you not? I didn't know. That was another thing that it's a strong word, but kind of, just bugged me a little. It's like, well, I'm trying
Hmm.
tools, I would like to get all of the crystals and things like that. Why this area? No matter what I do, I can't get there. So that
Hmm.
may be why. I just say, you got to get to the end, get more abilities, and then you can come back and do a
Right.
deal. Which I mean, that makes good game design, honestly. It adds replayability to
Yeah.
the game, but
Yeah.
I just need to be communicated a little bit better if that's the case, though.
Yeah, it's just hard. And I feel like it's not my fault that it's hard.
Yeah,
like
no, and
like
this,
you said with Earthworm Jim, with the
yeah,
some of the other games that we've played, it feels like it's our fault. We lack the skill
right.
to progress further. But with this, the controls, especially in part 2 for me, and in part 1, they feel slippery. They're not precise enough
And
in
if you
order for
think
me to
about
execute the
slippery
thing. Yeah,
vehicles,
vehicles.
vehicles. Oh
Yeah,
my God, they're so bad. All of
yeah,
them. Like the
yeah.
underwater segments. There's one part where you're like on
Hmm.
a goat. There's a part where you're on, I don't remember, like a cheetah or something like that. I don't remember
Yeah,
what all the animals and things were, but point
yeah,
is, they all feel the same and they all feel so bad. Like you're just
yeah,
sliding around all over the place. It feels like you have almost no control on them.
yeah,
It's just not fun. And I thought that would have been like a fun little, breakaway, something a little bit different, and it's not. And
no,
that was disappointing. Very
yes.
disappointing.
The water level especially, I forget which one that's on. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's all
part
bleeding
2.
together, two and three,
Yeah.
honestly.
Um,
But
but the water level specifically, I felt the control, especially swimming,
mm,
was really counterintuitive. And
yeah,
it's because for the most part, I'm used to playing 2D water levels in Mario.
Right.
And in Mario, you just need the left and right directional buttons, and then the normal jump button kind of makes you kick your legs. You kind of float up a little bit, and then you maneuver left and right. And most of the time, you just gravity pull towards the bottom of the level.
Right.
So you progress through the level by jumping, kind of, which I far prefer. I think that was a way better idea on how to handle a level underwater than
Hmm.
whatever they were doing here. And it was telling me to like kick my legs, but I was holding the button. It didn't
Yeah,
tell me
I
to rapidly
same.
press
It
the
took
button.
me it didn't take me super long, but it took me a minute to figure that out myself. Like I was holding the button at first, I was like, okay, yeah, this is working. I'm moving a little bit faster. But then like after half a second, whatever, I was like, wait, is it helping? Is it doing anything? And then I did it
Right.
again. I hit the button. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely moving faster button than when I'm not. And then it's got this weird feeling that I wasn't. And eventually,
Right.
yeah. I figured out, oh, you gotta hit the button. Like it doesn't say you gotta keep hitting the button. It
Right.
just says press A to move faster or whatever. Like
Right.
I feel like that could have been communicated so much better. And I mean, we
Yeah.
both figured it out eventually, so I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal, but
Mm-hmm.
just a little tiny text change could have saved us both a little bit of frustration. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that sums up the whole game. Just little changes could have been made that would have saved a bunch of frustration. Making
Yeah.
platforms just a tiny bit closer together. Like there's footage coming up here in just a second of me missing a platform. I feel like I
Uh-huh.
didn't jump that far back from this
Right.
platform, but
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah.
And if it was moved just a tiny bit closer, that would have been just a little bit less frustration. And
Yeah.
specifically, there's footage coming up. Well, I mentioned a second ago where there's an area or areas that it seems like you should be able to get to, but you just can't for some reason.
Right.
This right here that's coming up is one of them. There's that platform above some nitro boxes, and I died
Mhm.
here. I don't even know how many times because I was certain you had to be able to get there. Like you have to. So I
Right.
tried and I tried and I tried. I probably spent 10 minutes trying, just dying over and over and over again. And
Right.
I finally decided that it's just impossible and moved on with my life. But
Right.
yeah, now that you mentioned power ups, I guess that's probably the issue.
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I
But
guess yeah. Neither
I
one of
know,
us know for
but
sure, but
I know on that arrow box specifically, if you hold jump while you're
yeah,
on
you
the
go
arrow
higher.
boxes,
Yeah.
you go higher. So maybe it's a timing thing they wanted us to figure out.
I
But
mean, maybe, but and that's what I thought too. Like maybe you have to be right on the edge of that arrow box and hold the
mhm.
button. And then I was even working on like getting speed before I got onto the box and whatnot. That's where a couple of my deaths came from. Like maybe it's a
Mhm.
momentum thing. Excuse me. As
Yeah,
far as I can tell, it's just impossible
yeah.
without some sort of power up or something.
And here's the other thing. All of these I could overlook if I was playing the PlayStation version right. You know what I mean?
Maybe, yeah.
Like like like
I didn't grow
like
up playing them on PlayStation, so
yeah.
I don't really know for sure. But to a degree, I think I get what you're saying.
So like because of the limitations of the PlayStation, I think that these controls in the original games make sense because the PlayStation D-pad was infamously stiff and hard to work around, especially when designing games. That's why a lot of 3D games use tank control and
I was gonna say the
different things
D-pad
like
works
that.
very well on the PlayStation,
Yeah.
but stiff is definitely right. Like
Yeah.
it wears your finger out
Yeah.
after holding any direction for more
Yeah.
than a minute or two. It's
Yeah,
rough.
so I can understand why the crash controls would have felt stiff on the original PlayStation. But you did it again this time though. You fixed it.
And
Like
possibly
this
made it
wasn't
even worse. From a little
right.
bit of what I read, some people say that this game controls worse
Yeah,
than the
cuz like
original.
cuz I think it's the same kind of issue that I think maybe was wrong with ukulele. They tried to be too faithful and
Possibly.
they could have bridged out more. They could have added power-ups if they wanted to. They could have made the controls a little bit more intuitive because I kept finding myself switching back and forth between the D-pad and the stick because I honestly didn't know which one was going to be better. And
Yeah,
sometimes it was
yeah.
conditional.
Yeah, there was an area in the again, I don't remember if it was second or third, but there was
Hmm.
one specific area I remember where I kept on. Oh, it was during that kangaroo boss. It
Yeah.
might have been the first game actually.
Yeah.
Where there's a kangaroo and you have to hit the TNT and then the TNT like floats down. I
Hmm.
kept, excuse me, I kept jumping into the water and
Yeah.
like I don't know why I felt like I was pushing directly left on the D-pad,
Right.
but for some reason I kept going just right into the water. So I had to keep switching. Every time I'd do a specific jump, I would have to switch to the D-pad just to stop myself from jumping right
Yeah.
into the water and killing myself because Crash can't swim apparently.
Right. Unless they want him to.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. There's whole underwater sections where he swims just fine. Yeah.
Right.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, they it's I just I don't understand why they didn't loosen it up a little bit, because it feels just as stiff as it would have on the PlayStation. But
Right.
you're playing this modern looking game, so it creates a dissonance, you know.
And
And
it's just like, and there's other problems too, little things like depth. I can't get a proper sense of depth with my jumps. Like in
yeah,
3D Mario games, I've never had that issue. But for
right.
some reason, in Crash specifically, I can't, like, I feel like it's different every time I try to jump. I don't know if the timing isn't consistent or if
hmm
it's
That's
a
because
problem.
Mario has razor tight control.
I mean, that's true. That's true. It is like the gold standard. But
Yeah,
it's just, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm always over jumping or under jumping platforms, which is just odd for me as somebody who plays Mario games and even other 3D games, though, like Jack and Daxter or
yeah.
whatever the other one is that I can't think of right now. Why can't I think of it?
I don't know.
Uh, it's like
Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, like I've
Yeah.
never had a problem with depth in those ones. I mean, sure, I miss jump sometimes, but I feel like
hmm
it's my fault usually when I do. And
Yeah.
this one, I feel like it's the game's fault.
Right.
I mean, it's probably not because I mean, there's speedrunners and things who can play this flawlessly, so I'm sure eventually I would get used to it. But
But
it just
I always felt like, you bring up the speedrunning thing. I always felt like for this game, a speedrunner would have to learn to be bad. Like they would have to learn the bad controls and learn to counteract
right.
the lack of, like, I think latency is the
Mm-hmm.
right word, because you're and another thing here, I usually don't echo what you say about the options. That usually doesn't frustrate me that much.
Mm-hmm.
But here it really did. Like, I don't understand, as a modern game, why does it not give me the option to, like, reduce the sensitivity or increase the sensitivity of the control, or
Right.
even the latency? Like, why does it not give me the option to do things like that? Because, and I even looked, I saw you pull up the options menu at the beginning of the game and you clicked on gamepad. And that's where I
And
looked
it
to
only
see.
explains the controls. Yeah.
Right, to see if there was some kind of sensitivity option or anything like that that could help me out with the problems I was experiencing, but there isn't. And I actually found on the main Steam page for the game, the main one,
Mm-hmm.
there's a link to a YouTube video on how to unlock more than 60 frames per second on this game using some fiddling around with your NVIDIA settings.
While we're speaking of the frames per second thing, I mentioned in when we did just part one
hmm
that the game is locked to 24 or 48. And it
hmm
is for me on this specific computer. It's locked to 24 to 48. I played a little bit on my laptop of the
hmm
first game because I wasn't recording footage of that one.
Yeah.
So just for, to catch up on it, 60 FPS, 30 and 60.
What?
But for some reason, I don't know what it is because my monitor's 144 hertz. So, like, it
Right.
can more than handle 60 frames per second, but
hmm
it doesn't give me that option. I don't
Well,
understand what it is. Just another little oddity with this
might
specific game.
be graphic card related.
I
Perhaps
doubt it.
you have two
Because
different graphic cards on your
I,
laptop and on your PC.
I mean, it's possible, but I doubt it because my graphics card, I mean, it's a little bit old at this point, a 980 that I'm running in
Right.
my desktop at this time, but it was super popular when it was, whenever it was its generation. And
Right.
at the time that this game came out, that would have only been like one generation old. So like,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But so moving past Crash 2, the frustrating levels, I think that it was a total slap to the mouth to introduce ice
Right, right,
in the levels. That was ridiculous, because ice in
right.
any game is always a challenge, but if you do it right, just like anything else, sometimes it can feel fine. It's like an interesting little thing for a level, but ice is frustrating anytime it's introduced. So you're
There
going to
was
introduce
one
ice.
thing I liked about the ice in this game. One thing,
Yeah.
and that was it was a great way to build up speed if you were going straight. Like
Yes.
I thought that felt good. The rest
hmm
of the ice stuff was felt worse than most ice physics in my
Yeah.
opinion, but
Yeah.
the going straight really
hmm
felt nice. And
Well,
again, I'll say the animations looked
yeah.
amazing like while I was
Right.
on the ice. Like he looked
Sure.
almost like he was ice skating. So I
Yeah.
mean, again, I think this game is beautiful and the
Hmm.
animations are beautiful. I can't
Yeah.
get over the gameplay.
Right. And I don't know, maybe it's made worse by I mean the studio that rebuilt this game is called Vicarious Visions.
Right.
So maybe they were so concerned about the graphics and animations and things like that, and the little things like having water blur on the lens right here in this level,
Right.
that they forgot to fix the broken ass controls.
I I don't know. I Vicarious Vision some pretty decent things. So
Yeah.
I say it's them. Like Tony Hawk, they did Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and that's
Right.
got glowing reviews.
It's great.
They did the Skylander stuff, which I've never personally played, but I know that's pretty popular. And
Okay.
they did like some of the old Marvel Spider-Man games, like Ultimate Alliance games and things like that. So like
Okay.
they've done a lot of really good blame Vicarious Visions,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I can't speak too much on how much better or worse it is because I
Yeah.
haven't played the originals really. A
Right.
tiny bit when I was really young, but owned
Mhm.
the originals growing up.
Right.
So I don't know. We need to at some point. We just need to play the original games
Right.
and
Just for
see,
comparison's sake.
yeah, see how much better or worse they really are.
Yeah. Oh, this part pissed me off.
Right.
I
So for
hate the
anybody just
I
listening to the
hate the moles.
podcast, there's like a pit that you go down, and when you
Mhm.
go up to the pit, just like these moles just kind of pop up,
Right.
and then you kill the moles, and then a mushroom appears, but you can just
Mhm.
jump off the moles to get up it faster. I don't really get the point of the section, to be
Yeah, and see
honest,
the
and they
thing
do it
is
like two or three
too,
times right in a row.
yeah, the thing is too, like you can almost make that jump.
Right, yeah, it's really close. It's really close. And like I said, if
So,
you jump off of one of the moles, you can easily make the jump without even waiting for the mushroom. So,
yeah, and I really don't understand why it's mandatory that I play the whack-a-mole game. Like,
yeah,
why not make that something like instead of a one-hit kill pit, you make it a pit that you can jump over to move through the level faster if you want to. But
right.
if you happen to fall, now you gotta beat them all.
Right.
You know?
um, and honestly, you bring up like the insta kill pit thing, and that's just another thing that really irks me about this game is just the number of insta kill pits and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's again, it's not Vicarious Vision's fault specifically here because they're just redoing the
It's the
original
same
levels.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, but man, like they really overdid it with those things. I feel like there's
Yeah.
no reason, especially so early in the game, to have so many areas that you can die so easily.
Yeah.
And I get like at least in the early levels, a lot of the insta death pits are in like the special areas that you don't technically have to do. But
Right.
I don't, I don't know. Like I don't like harping on games, but they just
No,
the
yeah, but
design of this game is just not. It wasn't for me. I mean, it's a very popular series, so obviously it's for somebody. But
yeah,
I
and
don't think it's the game series for me, which is upsetting because I was actually really excited to play through all three of these games,
right.
and now I don't know.
So moving on, more focus on Crash 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Go ahead and
I
skip the video here.
I actually enjoy Crash 3. I
Fair.
I don't I don't feel like it's as bad as Crash 2. I had more fun playing it. I think that some of the controls make a little bit more sense when it comes to um, how the stick reacts specifically. I thought that made a little bit more sense. I thought the world and level design was much better.
I
Um,
personally
I
didn't notice much of a difference between the three games, to be honest.
It's like the
Um,
third game, like the second game feels like very much a rehash of the first game with just
right.
added little things. But the third game feels like something different to me. Like you're not just in a level with turtles and it's not the same like Aztec theme. I mean, the second game does has snow levels and things like that, and maybe
Right. Of
there's
course.
things later on that I've missed. But the third game has like medieval times and
Yeah, because it's kind
uh
of based around like time travel. Like you went back in
yeah,
time to before the events of
right.
1 and 2.
There's
Yeah.
like a level where you race on a motorcycle and you're driving past cop cars and
Oh,
there's
really? I didn't get to
yeah,
that point. That sounds pretty
there
cool, actually.
there's like a surfer level where you play as Coco and you have to, do like a race course and you have to find the gym and it's hidden somewhere in the level. And there's a level on the Great Wall of China and there's a level in Arabia and Egypt and a whole bunch of different things going on. And the levels feel a lot more open, like in this level right here, for instance, that we're watching.
Yeah, this is still
Everything
the second game, but yeah.
still,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, still the second game, and everything still feels very closed in. And I did watch that documentary, so I understand why they did it that way. I understand that they had to kind of close off some space so that
Limited
the
on
player
resources and things.
limited on resources and memory, but also so the player had some kind of direction because at the time 3D games were new.
Nobody really
So
knew how to, yeah,
right, nobody really knew how to design a good
a
3D
3D
platformer.
space, yeah.
Yeah. So with the third game, I feel like they took some more liberties and everything feels a little bit more open. You can see more of the world around you, and I
Yeah,
feel like
I do agree. I see what you're saying. Like I'm thinking specifically of it's one of the first levels, like first or
mhm,
second levels in number
mhm.
3, and it's like a medieval type
Yeah,
level.
that's like the first level. Yeah.
And that is one of the things I notice is that it does up. It gives you some shots. Like you can't really explore so much the
Hmm.
other areas, but it gives you shots
No.
of like off in the distance and things like that.
Yeah, like the
Um,
castle and the bonus stages too. And the bonus stages in the other game, you either warp or you're taken down or up to a separate stage that you don't know about. But in three, it like the platform just kind of moves you to a separate part of the level that's right there
right.
within the same level. Um, so it feels I like that feeling a little bit. It feels like it's still a part of it, and I appreciated that, and I thought the controls. I actually thought the controls felt a little different in the third game. I felt like they were a little bit more forgiving. Not perfect, and a lot of the same issues still existed with feeling slippery and not feeling as tight as they need to, but I had an easier time playing through the third game. Like I just kind of blasted right through the same amount of time that I took on the second game to beat 6 levels. I was able to beat twice as many and on the third game. And maybe I had just kind of broken in, and I was used to it by
Start to get
now.
used to it. Yeah.
Right, but I don't know. I was just enjoying it a lot more. The enemy variety was way different. There's a dinosaur level in the third game, so instead of rehashing the boulder, which they did in the second game, there's more levels where you're being chased by the boulder.
Hmm.
Um, in the third game, they make it a triceratops chasing you
That's
through the
chasing
jungle.
you. Yep.
Yeah,
I
and
did
but
definitely think that the third game was the better looking. Now, I mean, because it's a trilogy all made at the same
mhm,
time, the remake is, they all look very similar graphically, of course, like fidelity wise and whatnot. But I did think world design wise, the third game did look better. I
right.
agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the that direction because also the boulder levels are that's the thing, and the whole level it's a boulder.
Right.
That's the only part of the level that you play. Um, but with the Triceratops, it's a part of the level. You do some platforming to get through the first part, both third person perspective and then kind of 2D sideways perspective, and then just for a part of the level, you switch to the Triceratops chase. So it feels like it's a big world and it's a big part of the level, and you just stumbled upon this Triceratops that's going to chase.
Yeah, I can see what you say. I like what you're
Hmm.
saying from that
Yeah,
perspective. I don't agree with control thing. To me, the controls themselves still feel the same, but I do think the at least in the early stages, yeah, the design of the levels does seem to be a little bit more forgiving. I do know like the third level though is another vehicle level,
yeah,
and that's where I think I really started to get fed up with it.
yeah.
Was during that section. It just because it's so slippery, man. I just don't like
I liked
why.
I liked Coco and the Tiger better than I like Crash on any other vehicle, including the Hog.
Like I guess
Like Crash on the motorcycle isn't too bad. Crash on the polar bear in the second game is adorable, and Coco in the leopard or whatever it is, tiger. Um, I thought was okay. There was still a good many pits and obstacles that I just didn't understand why
right.
they were so cluttered or why it was so tight. I don't feel like it needs to be that way.
And I
Um,
think that comes back around to my comment on depth, like just not being able
yeah,
to tell how close or far away things are from you sometimes.
right,
It just makes it so much harder to try to maneuver around a level or to accurately jump from place to place or
right,
dodge enemies or projectiles or obstacles of any sort. And I know they changed the camera for the remakes here
yeah,
compared to the original, and I've heard complaints of that before, so I'm inclined to think that may be a part of it. But
yeah.
I
like the
don't know.
widescreen camera versus
Yeah,
the full screen.
the more 4:3. Yeah.
Without a direct side by side comparison, it's hard for me to tell a difference.
Right.
And I have played a good amount of the first game. Up until the point that I am on the remake of the first.
Mm.
So a good chunk of the game. I'd say I completed it maybe 20-25% of the way.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
Um,
about where I'm at on my playthrough of the first game right now.
yeah. So and I've played that much of the original PlayStation. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm biased. Uh, yeah, I can't comment too much on it without, like I said, seeing a literal side by side
Yeah,
comparison of
yeah.
what is available visually on the screen in the original version versus the remake. But so you explore a lot more than I do. I'm looking at this thing right now. I didn't even know that was a thing that could be jumped on,
That's just
which
how
is
I play games in general, though.
yeah.
I generally have time to actually complete games, but I've
Hmm.
always had a very complete set with video games. That's
Yeah.
just how I like to do it. I like to explore, look at
Hmm.
every nook and cranny, find every object and whatnot.
Yeah.
And yeah, this little area I'm pretty sure is impossible
Yeah.
until you get other power-ups. So what
Okay.
I did is I found an area, and I think it's like a DLC area or something like that, and it
Yeah.
was
Future
labeled
tense.
as level like 50 something another.
Hmm.
And so for people just watching the podcast, it's very futuristic, and there's like
Hmm.
conveyor belts and lasers and things like that. And what's about to happen is there's a section with a conveyor belt that you jump off of, and I
Hmm.
just cannot make that jump. Like, no matter how many times I try, how close to the edge I try to do this, just does not work. I'm pretty
Wow.
sure you have to have some sort of double jump ability or something.
Okay.
I just
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah, but and that's just another little design thing though. Why let you come to this area so early? I understand like it might have been a DLC thing or something like that, but still,
Mm.
why let you come here at all if it's literally impossible from the beginning of the game? Like,
Right.
just have it locked until the end. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I I don't know.
No. Yeah. I would agree. Story wise, sure. There's
Yeah, I haven't
there's
played enough of the
there's
game
not
to
really
really
anything
know
there.
the story. Like the first
Yeah, and
game, you're fighting this evil dude whose name I can't remember who created you. In the second
mhm,
game, it's the same dude, but there's another dude now, and like you have to
right.
choose who to get the crystals for. But let's be honest, you're just gonna grab every crystal you can, so it doesn't really matter. And then in the third
Right.
game, the mask that helps you out's brother escapes, and he's mad because that evil doctor dude failed so many times. So
Mhm.
I don't. Yeah, there you go. That's how much I know of the
Yeah.
story.
I like the story of the third game better.
Mhm.
I think it kind of makes more sense. I think it makes more sense to see Cortex in a that's the guy's
Yeah,
name, by the way.
Cortex. Yeah.
Yeah, Cortex and more of a bumbling, secondary role.
Right.
Um so I think it makes more sense, and I like that I finally got to understand who that mask is
Right.
that keeps telling me game over.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, because I had no idea who that is. Apparently, Uka Uka is its name. And it's, yeah, like you said, the brother of I don't know the other mask's name.
I don't remember it
Hunamaga.
either off the top of my head. So
Hunamaga.
yeah, that sounds
That's the
pretty
that's the
accurate.
noise. That's the noise that you hear every time you put it on. But yeah, I have no idea what's going on with the story, and it doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, see, like, look, you can see the rolling hills in the background and the castle and little farms
Yeah, no,
and
I
tents
I
and
agree
things
with
all
you
around.
there. Like it
Yeah.
definitely is the better level design. Like visually, it's a better level design. I just don't know if
Yeah.
from a playability perspective, it's really all that much better. Is my
Right.
thing. I do like they have these pits that just kind of slow you, or in the second one, there's pits of like mud that slow you down. It's like
Mhm.
shallow water. So you
Yeah.
can walk through that, but it slows you down a whole lot. In this one, they still have like the
Mhm.
shallow water pits, but they don't really seem to slow you down, which I think is just a nice low quality of life thing. Because there was no
Yeah.
real danger in those mud pits. It was just kind of annoying trying to run through
Right.
them and constantly getting slowed down. So the
They
fact that they got rid of
do
that, I thought was nice, at least early on.
they do change it up a little bit in the dinosaur level. I know that in the you're walking through shallow water a lot, and in certain portions of it there's like grass that you walk through, and if you move through the grass it
Oh
slows you
yeah,
down.
you're right. Yeah, the
But
grass does slow you down. You can also spin away the grass though.
Yeah, you can spin it away or you can void it. There's always like an alternate path,
Hmm.
so you don't have to move through the grass, and
Let's
it's not as
let's talk
annoying
about
and
the
cumbersome.
dinosaur level for just a second, though. The Triceratops
Yeah,
chasing you scene, because that's another chase level. So you're running towards the screen instead of away, which means that your
right,
visibility is greatly reduced. Which
right.
I feel like in the first game with the boulder section, they handled fairly well, to be honest.
Hmm.
Honestly, I
Yeah,
felt like the dinosaur one, they didn't handle it all that well. There was a lot of lava pits that you couldn't really see if they extended out too
yeah.
far for you to jump like out
Hmm.
of the out of the way of, or if
Right.
you like whether you could or not. And I don't know, that just irked me. I feel like they
Yeah.
should have pulled the camera out farther for that section, or just
Okay.
shortened the lava so you could always make the jump as long as you did a jump like at the edge. Um,
Right.
just just another little nitpicky thing to throw on the pile. And that's the thing, like the whole game, they
Yeah.
look nice, they play relatively okay, but it's like death by a thousand paper
Hmm.
cuts, right? There's just so many
Right.
little things that add up to, in my
Yeah.
opinion, not a terribly great experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be more frustrating than it's worth. There's a frustrating challenge, and then there's just frustrating.
Yeah.
And
And then there's Crash.
I yeah, and unfortunately, I would agree to you if we were doing the if we weren't doing the personalized. Would you play just one more level? And we were like, would you recommend this game to somebody? I would say, maybe
Probably
not.
not.
I don't know, but if we're talking personally, I would never play another level of 2,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I would play the third game more,
Okay.
and I think I intend to, honestly, play more of the third game. I'd like to see kind of where it goes, and maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for dinosaurs and time
Right,
travel,
right.
but I think I would like to see more of the third game and where it goes, and I would definitely like to see the fourth. I want to see an actual new game where they had total control over the level design and they had total control over the control
Right.
and how it feels and handles and what kind of options would be available and things like that. I would really love to see where they're going with that. So I'm super excited for Crash 4. I don't know when it's coming to PC or if it's on PC already. I'm
Not
not sure.
positive either, to tell you the truth.
But I would love to see it come to PC because I don't have a PS4 or obviously I don't have a next gen console.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
No. Bad time to try to get a PS5 or Xbox Series.
yeah, so stop asking about it. Stop hassling your local GameStops
Right.
or retailers
Right.
about
Just not.
PlayStation
Just
5s.
don't.
They don't have any. They're not going to for a while. Your best bet, order one from Sony, guys. What are you doing?
Just what are you
Just
doing? Just what are you doing? Do they
bug
have any
bug
available
Sony
either
about it.
though? That's the real thing. Like
Probably not, but
exactly.
at least you'll know if Sony doesn't have any available.
um
GameStop's not going to have one.
while we're touching on the would you play one more level thing though,
Uh-huh.
I agree. I do not recommend, just based off my own experience. Sadly, I can't
Mhm.
recommend it, but I do intend to give it one more shot. I am
Okay.
again the type of person who likes to beat games in order, so
Mhm.
I plan on trying more of the first game. And then
Yeah.
if I can get over my issues with it, then I'll continue from there. But I can't say for sure whether I will or not. I really wanted to beat the series and like you said, play number 4, but at
Mhm.
this point in time, I just don't know.
Yeah.
For number 4, I want to try it still, like you were saying, but
Mhm.
like I refuse to buy it unless I get to play somebody else's copy first or try a demo or something like that. Just because
Right.
I am starting to think Crash just isn't my series, sadly.
I would buy it. I would.
I mean, and that's fine.
I
Like,
I
hey,
I would probably buy it just because now I own all three and I own the first one. I would like to own the rest of them on the PlayStation. I'd love to own the entire franchise, honestly, because I'd love to see where they went with it.
right.
To my knowledge, there was only 3, 4, maybe 5 games for the original PlayStation, and then they did move on to the PS2.
I think it was
Um,
3 for the original PlayStation, but then the original developers stopped working on the
okay.
game at that point, I believe is how it
Because
worked.
there was, I don't remember if I just got this from your list or from research, but I think was there more than one version of Crash 2 or more than one version of Crash 3? I know the first 3 were for the PlayStation, and then Crash Bash was for the original PlayStation, not the
Right.
PS2.
Right. And Crash
So
Team
that's
Racing, I think, was a PS1 game as well, I believe.
right. So there's yeah, like you said, 3, possibly more main entries, and then a couple of spin-off titles
Right.
for the original PlayStation, and then it went in some direction with the PlayStation 2.
Right. And then it's just nobody really seemed to like what they did with it though.
Yeah.
As somebody who didn't grow up with the series, I don't know,
Mm.
but it didn't
No.
seem to do
Yeah, I
particularly
don't know
well.
either.
Hence why there's Crash 4. And didn't they even
Yeah.
call Crash 4 It's About Time?
It's
Cuz
about time.
yeah,
And
because like that was
I
like a
think it's
pun for
right. It's
like
quite literally about time travel, but also it's
also,
about
yeah,
time.
it's about time to get a new proper entry in the series, which
Right.
for us may not be a good thing, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. I guess we'll
Yeah.
find out.
But I am excited. Check out other games in this vein. I also own and loved to play Spyro when I
Yes,
was a
yes,
kid.
yes, yes.
Probably much more so than Crash. So
Yes,
I'm
Spyro is
excited.
actually one that I grew up playing a little bit. Again, we didn't own it, but
Right.
I did play it a handful of times, and I have recently played it on the PlayStation 1 and the remake. So just the first game, though. I didn't play 2 or 3 yet. But yeah,
Yeah. But
highly enjoy it.
I'm excited to try that out. To see what they did with the remake of Spyro because it definitely deserves it. It was a great game back in the day. Still is. So I'm excited to try that one out. I know we have it slated for the future
Yeah,
at some
point.
point.
Yeah.
In between the 25 Final Fantasy games that you
Yes.
want us to play.
Yep, yep. Yep. Very important.
um, so next week
Yeah.
on the podcast, we plan on wrapping up the PS1 era of Crash Bandicoot a little bit with a Mario Party like game called Crash Bash.
Exactly. Yep. A little bit of Crash
Um,
Bash. And so our plan for that one, of course, is since it is a Mario Party type game, we're gonna try to get together and do a little bit of couch co-op, the way it was meant to be played. Because how else
yeah,
really are you gonna play a Mario Party style game?
yeah, exactly. Against the CPU? No.
Right. No, no, that's not gonna happen.
Right.
Now, because of scheduling difficulties and things, if
Mm-hmm.
that can't happen for whatever
Right.
reason, we're gonna try to make it
Mm-hmm.
happen. But if it can't happen for whatever reason, we will have
Mm-hmm.
something else for you guys next week still, don't worry.
Yes.
We haven't decided on what that's gonna be yet or anything like that. But
Nope. A few recommendations were thrown out just at the beginning of this before we started
yeah, before we
recording.
start the yeah.
Couple of PS1 titles that we mentioned in previous episodes. We've been thinking about playing in general anyway, so
Yeah.
thinking about giving it a try. But there'll be something.
Yeah, we'll definitely get something. Hopefully, Crash Bash next week. If not next
Yeah.
week, then very very soon, Crash Bash will be
Yep.
coming to the podcast here.
Yeah. Yep. But so that's pretty much all we got for you.
Yeah,
So,
I don't really think there's anything else to say.
No, but I'm probably gonna play a little bit of Crash 3, maybe tonight or tomorrow. I honestly,
I'm not.
I
So
I want to see. I want to see a little bit more. I felt like I was making good time and I was keeping a good pace for Crash 3. So I'd like to see where these levels go. I can kind of tell though that it might end up getting a little repetitive.
yeah.
Um
It seems
because
like the
of the
games are fairly short though. Like they don't seem to
yeah.
overstay their welcome at least.
No.
So
Yes. So I don't know what that's gonna hold for me. I'd like to unlock some secret areas, man. You got the secret areas. I was looking at your Steam awards, and you had like the token for discovering the secret areas, and
right.
I was like, I feel like I've been all over this map, and I don't know where they are.
Like I said, that's kind of how I play games. I just explore every
Yeah.
nook and cranny as much as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's one thing I will give credit to the game for is it does have
Mhm.
some options for exploring and apparently
Right.
Metroidvania elements, which may or may not be a
Yeah.
good thing. I haven't decided, to be honest.
Right. All right. So, Christian, where can we find you?
Right. So, I mean, currently, because of life and being busy and things, the only place I'm active is on the podcast. So really,
Right.
if you want to find me right now, this is pretty much it. But
Right.
usually I do upload a couple things to YouTube every now and then. Stream all
Right.
to Steam, Twitch. Sometimes I'll do things on there, as well as, of course, we live stream ourselves recording these podcast episodes, so you can catch them a little bit early there.
Yep.
And then I have a Twitter. Stream the Steam on Twitter if you ever want to reach out.
Right.
That's pretty much it for me. John, how about you, man?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat right now. I do have a YouTube channel, The Dorseman, and I was uploading a few Twitch highlight streams and things like that. So obviously, you can also find me on Twitch at The Dorseman. not at the Dorseman, but the
Right.
Dorseman.
Yeah.
What is it? .tv or something like that. Twitch.tv/the Dorseman. But just like Christian, yeah, it is the holiday season, folks. So it's enough to keep a commitment to get a weekly podcast out.
Exactly.
let
Yeah,
alone
honestly.
let alone have some extra time for other projects at the moment. You know, we're all working pretty hard, and COVID's making it a lot harder. So stay safe out there, people. Enjoy the podcast if you please, and we'll see you here every week.
Yeah,
But
that's the plan.
yeah. So in the meantime, stay tuned to the podcast, and thank. We very much appreciate you coming out to listen to us. If you are, you didn't have to, but you did, and we appreciate it.
Do.
So thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much, everybody. And I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's all she wrote.
We'll see y'all next week.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.